You know that I rep for the bits where the youths will step with the kits and they want to move records with it. Taking phones and necklace with it. I black on the beat, I ain't Brexit with it. These days I see nitties that most man judge, but really my life is similar. If you pre from afar, could you tell if a jar's filled with water or vinegar? What I'm saying is we're both broken men, just coping in different ways. His thing is the crap, mine is applause that I get car spit this way. Enough man do it with spliffs of haze and it ends as shotties and sieves man crave.
Well, when I heard the beat, obviously Afro Surrealist is someone that's like a frequent collaborator of mine. So, what do you call it? Like, he knows the kind of modes I'm trying to get in. What do you call it? So hearing that he was part of the cypher was good. When I heard the beat, it was quite like meditative. Do you know what I mean? Like something that like it drew introspection out of me because like the drums were subdued. The melody was like what's it? Quite simple. So I just let my mind wander. You know what I mean? Like. So that's really what came to mind, like just letting it flow to me. So yeah. Well, as far as writing a verse, like I try not to force anything. So like if it doesn't come to me like naturally as I'm writing, I'll stop writing, come back to it. But in the case of this verse, like I wrote it months ago, really, and I remember writing it after what do you call it? Like I'd heard Magnifique by Bow and Geordie, and like I spun that like when it first came out, and I spun that like I want to say like 20 times in a day or something. Do you know what I mean? And it just got me in that introspective mood. So when it came time to hearing this beat, like writing the verse, I did it in one sitting. Really, I think I did it in like 40 minutes or something like that, 30 minutes. Because yeah, like I'm pretty sure I was already feeling introspective that day. So when it came to writing it, it just was like exercising that. I think my verse is like a series of questions with no answers. Do you know what I mean? Because that's kind of like what life is, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? So I think um, I, as the narrator or the writer of the verse, like, my job is to like convey what I'm feeling. And at a point of introspection, that's what I was feeling. I had a lot of questions or like things that came to mind that I couldn't necessarily explain. With because they're kind of like complex metaphysical concepts. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I guess just trying to embody that. Yeah. My first favorite lyric that would you call it that comes to mind, yeah, is obviously like in the verse like I use the analogy of like drug addiction to compare to myself in it. Cause obviously most people wouldn't really see themselves in someone that's like a drug addict, and I'm not a drug addict, but I think um the psychology behind the behavior is something that like we're all privy to, innit? Do you know what I mean? And like, that's kind of the point I made with when I say like these days I see nitties that most men judge, but really my life is similar. On its face, it sounds like I'm saying like I'm a drug addict too, but I go on to expand in the next bar, which is also one of my favorites, is if you preed from afar, could you tell if a jar is filled with water or vinegar? And obviously, the play on words there being that um, water and vinegar are both see-through. But if you was looking at it from afar, you wouldn't be able to tell which is which. And that's the point I'm trying to make with what do you call it? The drug addict, the comparison of the drug addict and myself. It's like calm. Obviously, when you scrutinize it, you'll be able to see the things that separate us. But if you just take what we're doing, our behaviors on its face, what do you call it? There's not that much difference, which I go on to expand in the next bar when I say, we're just two broken men, both coping in different ways. His is the crack, and mine is the applause I get. Cause I spit this way. Cause I feel like oftentimes I talk with my artists, like with my peers and my friends that are artists, and like one thing about this music, especially in this climate, is that like the way that establishing a career has been like transformed, it almost turns into like it turns your brain into like craving validation. Do you know what I mean? In the forms of interaction, engagement, because at the end of the day, that's the kind of thing that unfortunately, like has become a decision maker as far as like whether you get to have a successful career or not. So like it's almost like your brain is wired to like look for that. Do you know what I mean? And like that kind of like dopamine hunt, it does, in my opinion, like, it does similar things to your brain that, an addiction to anything else would. Do you know what I mean? And that's the point I'm making. Like, um, we are the way we are as people because we're coping. You know what I mean? We're trying to get by, rare tear tear. And like, I think as far as the parallel between the drug addict, the musician, is not so much that we're hooked on the same thing, or that it's um, um, viewed the same way, but more so that, what do you call it? We're both indulging in something and chasing a high. Do you know what I mean? Because that's what keeps us all. You know what I mean? So yeah, those are my favorite lines.